Oysters Australia board, which incorporates the oyster industries from South Australia, New South Wales and Tasmania, have agreed to a longer term for implementation for the national levy proposal. Last year, we started talking to growers around Australia about a proposal to replace the state-based R&D levies with a national levy because 1, better efficiency, 2, better bang for buck, and 3, it also allows for investment in things other than traditional science. Just as growers asked, we'll be working on a costed proposal and the exact mechanics of how a levy would work at some point in the future. We also understand there are a number of financial imposts on the national oyster industry at the moment, due to changes to other levies and costs on a state-by-state basis. So we believe this is a responsible decision on behalf of Australian oyster growers. When we have a proposal finalised, once again, we will be talking to the Australian oyster industry. Thank you very much for your time.
It's Matt here from ASI, just to give an update on what's been happening with ASI and in particular the POMS breeding levy. Based on industry's strong desire to breed from POMS resistance, ASI developed a business plan with a target of achieving 70% POMS resistance in 5 years. The business plan received input from key industry stakeholders and resulted in an application to ACCC for a levy to support the breeding process. The application was for a levy for $2.80 per thousand for 10 years with reviews after years 3 and year 7. ASI then undertook regional grower meetings in Tasmania and South Australia, and once growers were presented with the facts, they understood the need for the levy and were overwhelmingly supportive. The ACCC has now granted interim approval for the levy, and we're currently working with the hatcheries to develop a collection mechanism. Also, the ASI board has been strengthened with extra representation from South Australia with Jill Coates and Steve Bowley, and from Tasmania with Ian Duthie and Neil Stump. I'd just like to take this opportunity to also thank Alan Daly for his input into this process. Alan was appointed to oversee the process, which he did successfully. Alan's time is now concluded with ASI, and we'd just like to thank him for all he's done and wish him all the best for the future.
Hi there, my name is Prue Woodford and I'm the coordinator of the Sustainable Oyster Assessment Program, which is abbreviated to SOAP. SOAP is a New South Wales South Coast oyster monitoring program covering 7 estuaries from the Shoalhaven to the Victorian border. SOAP is funded by the South East Local Land Services and Catchment Action New South Wales, and it's in its 3rd year of monitoring. Juvenile oysters are cultivated in floating baskets and are graded every 8 to 10 weeks using an automatic oyster grader. Through the program, we collect information on mortality and growth at 30 unique sites across 7 estuaries. SOAP has 2 primary goals. The first goal is to collect baseline information on growth and mortality to categorise productive capacity of oyster growing areas. And the second goal is to better understand the relationship between water quality and environmental stresses relating back to catchment health. The big picture goal is to establish and collate a long-term data set for oyster performance across each of the estuaries. This is information that industry needs to better manage their leases and to maximise business profitability. If you would like further information, please visit www.oysterinformationportal.net.au and click on the monitoring tab.
I'm Ian Jeffords from Pinco Shellfish in Washington State, up in the northwest part of the U.S. And I'm a shellfish grower, and I'm here today sort of commiserating with other shellfish growers. I came to describe some of the trials and tribulations that we've gone through in our 40-year history of raising shellfish up in Washington State. Some of the things that have affected us have included marketing and regulations and disease, different natural hindrances to growth. And I was sharing some of the things that we have done to overcome those challenges, and sharing some of the things that we've done in the market, be it branding or be it education of the customers, so that people here, if they're going through those same types of challenges, perhaps they could learn from some of the successes we've had, how we did that, how we achieved that success. So some of the advice that I was giving to people here today with regard to the product was not putting all your eggs in one basket with regard to the market. We've had some recent experience with that. A lot of guys were pushing to sell to China. Well, China implemented a ban on all West Coast shellfish from the U.S. for a short while. So anybody that had all their eggs in that basket, they were hurting a lot. Another thing was to diversify your product line, not selling just one type of shellfish, but growing or at least distributing several types of shellfish. Another thing that we've done, or were forced to do through our history, was become vertically integrated. So raising shellfish from the hatchery level all the way through distribution. So those are the kind of things that have given us a solid base and allowed us to grow as a company over the years, and has provided for our success, and hopefully not only now but into the future.
Yeah, I wanted to get over to people who are interested in growing flat oysters, and that's mainly the Tasmanians and South Australian farmers that are here, that there is an opportunity to grow them. They are rare around the world. They're high valued oysters, and that there's some growers here that actually are growing them, so have some confidence in trying. A lot of the systems that we've gone through and developed, we've made some mistakes. You can learn from that and develop your own. They are a native animal, and I do think that we understand how shellfish breed and can be cultured, and we have a responsibility now to fix some of the wrongs that were done in the past, and where this species was devoid or overfished in the environment. There's several challenges. Marketing. There's not a big acceptance within the shellfish market in Australia, and that's mainly because the market's satisfied by Pacifics and rock oysters at the moment. That could change with ponds, so there's a strategy there for diversification to spread your risk so that you've got another species and you're not just single species orientated. I also think that they're a lovely oyster. They're probably just a beautiful oyster to grow, and relatively simple to hatchery rear, and I think it's a good strategy to look at them for those reasons. I give to somebody starting out is tread cautiously, be prudent. I've found that the successful farmers have growing oysters to their environmental situation where they are located, and we grow them probably differently in Narooma and South Coast, which is a protected waterway and an estuarine situation, to growers in Victoria who are on a long line situation and much rougher and more open water, which will probably be different to South Australia and probably parts of Tasmania, and possibly even different within those regions too, in different bays and impoundments. So be prudent. There is a disease that does affect them, bonamia, and by the new techniques that we've developed to growing them, we seem to be growing them around that disease. The disease still exists, but we've managed to getting them through quicker because we understand how to grow them better in a better environment. And I think you'd be very satisfied if you could do something and bring an animal back into the environment that doesn't exist anymore, and it's available to even your region and local community.